This is Redline History Episode 4, Really Fast BMWs. If you are a fan of BMWs, today you are in for a treat, because today we travel to Bavaria, the home of some of the most amazing cars on the planet. Every BMW enthusiast has heard this name. Their 20-spoke wheels are now icons across the planet, and their wedge-cut pinstripes show that these vehicles aren't just your ordinary BMW. They can make any Beamer reach over 300 kilometers an hour. They have proven the world time and time again that they make some of the fastest, most luxurious, and most groundbreaking vehicles on the globe. This is the story of ALPINA. Stage 1. The family business. For the origin of ALPINA, we must go all the way back to 1962, when Rudolf Bovensiepen was in charge of his family business, typewriters. His son Burkhard was expected to take up the family business one day, but he had other ideas. For the younger audience out there, a typewriter is basically a keyboard, but it types on paper. Burkhard Bovensiepen, the founder of ALPINA, was getting bored of making typewriters, so he decided to do something more interesting. He loves cars. In fact, he knew how to drive a car at age 14 and was pulled over several times because he didn't have a license. His new BMW 1500 was a great car, but he felt it was underpowered, so he developed a dual Weber carburetor, which tuned up the engine to 96 horsepower, about a 15% increase over the 80 horses that came from the factory. And so he thought to himself, if I can get more power out of this engine, wouldn't others want more power too? So with this idea in mind, he stuck flyers onto the windshields of 1500s he saw in a parking lot, asking if they would like some more power with a dual carburetor setup. And his plan worked. In fact, his plan worked so well, BMW's own sale boss himself found his brochure and he was impressed. In fact, he was so impressed, he had BMW certify the product and also even offered a full factory warranty on vehicles that had the dual carbs. But the press was still skeptical. They thought it would make the car less reliable, but their minds were soon changed as Burkhard gave him a test drive. By the way, a carburetor is basically how fuel and air got into your engine. There wasn't fuel injection in those days. Anyway, the carburetors were a massive success. So 1 year later, on January 1st, 1965, ALPINA Burkhard Bovensiepen KG was established. He also invested in the stock market and earned a lot of money from it. So with the money, he moved his business into the outbuilding of the original ALPINA typewriter factory and started to work on tuning cylinder heads, crankshafts, and carburetors to extract more power from Beamer engines. Hence their logo, which contains a crankshaft and dual carburetors, which was introduced in 1967. With success, the company had grown from 8 to 70 employees by 1970 in the span of just 5 years. But now it was time to prove that their tuning business could beat other cars on the track. Stage 2. Racing. 1968. Just 2 years after the company's founding, the ALPINA racing team entered an ALPINA-tuned 1500 into the European Hill Climb Championship. And 2 years later, in 1970, they won the hill climb in a BMW ALPINA 2002. Oh, and also, they won the 24 Hours of Spa, the Nürburgring, the German Hill Climb Championship, and even rally races. Burkhard had only the best drivers in every race, with legends like Niki Lauda and James Hunt behind the wheels of ALPINA tuned race cars. Oh yeah, and they also won the Touring Series again in 1973 and 77. After dominating racing in Europe for 9 years, Burkhard decided the company should take what they've learned from racing and focus on their road cars. Stage 3. Production vehicles. So in 1978, they released 3 vehicles which had been completely developed by the ALPINA team. All 3 models were groundbreaking vehicles. The B6 2.8 was a 3 Series BMW fitted with a 6-cylinder. At the time, this was phenomenal because BMW had only been fitting the 3 Series with a much smaller 4-cylinder engine. This engine swap resulted in a major power increase, making it one of the most fun and awesome BMWs to drive at the time. Their second car in the lineup was the B7 Turbo. Based on the 5 Series, this car was no less impressive than the B6. In fact, the B7 was the fastest saloon car in the entire world at the time of its release. There was also a coupe version, which was the 3rd model in ALPINA's full conversion road car lineup. These 3 vehicles created the brand design ALPINA still has to this day. iconic side stripes, and wheels make these vehicles some of the most recognizable cars on the planet. In the first years of the road car business, Alpina had quickly risen to the top with their forward-thinking approach of electronics and styling. They were basically unrivaled. In 1981, Alpina wanted to prove that they were also focused on efficiency just as much as they were focused on performance. So when the Shell Kilometer Marathon came around, they took an E21 318i and stretched its nose to make it more aerodynamic. Then, they added BMW's signature kidney grills. After all, it is a BMW. With all of these enhancements, it blew away the competition and won an insane fuel economy of over 105 miles per gallon. Stage 4. Manufacturer status and new innovations. During this time, the Alpina lineup was very successful. So successful, in fact, that they were given manufacturer status by the German Ministry of Transport, thus becoming much more than just a tuner. Gaining manufacturer status for a company is quite a milestone. What separates from Alpina from other companies of the time is that they did not fear new gadgets. They were brave with new technology. So when 1985 came along, they decided to use metal catalytic converters, as they were much better than the ceramic ones used at the time. Not only did Alpina shift their entire lineup to this new model, but other companies didn't even think of using them until years later. Nowadays, not only is it easier to manufacture metal catalytic converters, but it also takes less heat to warm up, thus making the entire system much more effective. To prove the efficiency of Alpina's new catalytic converter, they entered the German Touring Car Championship and raced a BMW Alpina M3 Group A. 1 year later, in 1988, Alpina decided to withdraw from racing to focus even more on their production vehicles. Stage 5. The fastest. It's 1989. One of BMW's flagship models, the E34 5 Series, is the go-to car for businessmen. But some businessmen wanted to go really fast. So the Alpina team took what they learned on the track and applied it to the 5 Series. And the project resulted in the fastest production sedan in the entire world. Unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show of 1989, the BMW M30 engine was fully dismantled. Then, the Alpina team replaced the pistons with new Mahle ones. Then they added a Bosch variable boost control and of course 2 huge Gerlitz T25 water-cooled turbos. Then, the engine was rebuilt by hand, giving it a power rating of 355 horsepower and a blisteringly powerful torque rating of over 500 Newton meters. To handle such figures, Alpina fitted new springs and anti-roll bars. They also added Blistein shock absorbers and enlarged brake rotors. The top speed was rated at over 180 miles an hour, which put it in the same league as a Ferrari Testarossa. With a base price of 146,800 DM, which was double the price of an E34 M5, the B10 bi-turbos, all 507 units, were sold all the way up until 1994, which was also due to the fact that the BMW M30 engine was discontinued. Despite the price, the B10 bi-turbo became the most successful Alpina vehicle in history up until its sale. But Alpina's expertise had only just begun. It was time for the B12. Next time, we will explore Alpina's success into the 90s, all the way up until modern times. Thank you for watching my video. It took me hours of drawing and editing, so please consider subscribing because I have some awesome videos coming soon. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or requests, be sure to drop a comment down below. That's it for today. See you next time.